Good evening. It's Joel Ivany here at Against the Grain Theater. Thanks for tuning in to tonight's From the Director's Chair. We have a great guest tonight. It's kind of tied in with our Messiah Complex film, which comes out this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and all across Canada. But thanks for tuning in. And we'll be talking to, I'll introduce her in just a sec, co-director of the film, Reneltta Arluk. I just want to mention that Against the Grain Theater is on Treaty 13 territory right here. This is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse Métis and First Nations Inuit peoples. And we're grateful, I'm grateful to be on this land, to be able to make art and work with people from all over. As I mentioned, Reneltta is our guest. Reneltta is an incredible director, administrator. She is the director of Indigenous Arts at Banff Center for Arts and Creativity, which is where I met her, and she is co-director of this film. Please welcome Reneltta Arluk to this stream.
Yay!
Yay!
I'm very happy to be here and grateful to be joining you on your territory.
Thank you so much. Where are you? I was going to say Zoom. This isn't Zoom. It feels like it, but where are you zooming in from, or where are you connecting from?
Where am I virtually arriving from? From Treaty 7 territory at Banff National Park. So I'm here with the Switzerland of the Dene, Blackfoot, and Stoney Nakoda, Métis Region 3. And I always say travelers of Cree, Tanaha, and Inuit.
Awesome. So before we get into kind of some of what we've been doing the last many months, if you could believe it, is how is the situation where you are? How is kind of COVID lockdown, the restrictions in Banff right now and around there? How's that going?
Well, as you know, Alberta is blowing up, and so Alberta just shut down all the bars and restaurants and gyms in this past couple days. The daycare is still running, so I'm kind of grateful for that. And Banff itself is actually quite high. I think there's 1 in 10 people testing positive for COVID. So thankfully, we're all working from home. We're all safe. And my partner got me a spa package for Christmas, and it got canceled today.
Oh. Sorry.
Oh, I know. I was really looking forward to it. Oh, well.
That means he's just got to get a little better with the massage.
That's what he said. That's what he said. The Shea Arluk will be open.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Lots of those spas opening up. Exactly.
I believe it.
Well, before getting again into this, what sort of work have you done that has led to you to where you are now in this position? You've done acting, you've done theater, you've done administration, you've kind of done it all, but what's sort of the highlights that have led to where you are today?
In the directing world, well, I run a theater company called Act Peak Theater, and Act Peak is my Inuk name given to me by my great grandmother Alice Simon, who actually had the same marking on her chin, and she actually had lines all the way up her face, but the big thick mark on her chin was what really identified her. And so Act Peak is the cloudberry that grows in the northern circumpolar regions, and it's called the baked apple in Diantha's neighborhood. And so I like that because it's like a resilient berry. So in this barren land, so with that practice, it's very community based and grassroots based. And the mandate for Act Peak Theater is Northern Indigenous focus for producing, presenting, and creating. And I kind of always held true to that. And I think that because I've held true to something that's kind of specific but yet very rich, it's just kind of led me down the path of directing like northern productions, and I directed the Breathing Hole at Stratford Festival, where I was the first Inuk and first Indigenous woman to direct there, which was pretty incredible. It was Colleen Murphy's work that, she's written for opera as well. And so just the main focus of it is just to create space for Indigenous voice, and anywhere I can do that, I pretty much do that.
That's amazing and needed as well. You come from, but you were born or from Northwest Territories.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the Northwest Territories?
So I was born in a little small town called Fort Smith. So Fort Smith is just above the Alberta border. It's in Wood Buffalo National Park territory, Treaty 8 territory. And that's my hometown, mostly of my mother's, who's Dene and Cree. And I was born in a hospital that doesn't exist anymore. And it's beautiful. They call it the garden capital of the North, which is probably pretty true, but it has like incredible waterways, like the rapids there. There's actually pelicans there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pelicans.
I know, pelicans in the Northwest Territories.
Who knew? There you go. Fun facts that you can also pick up tonight. And for the last, and only because we just talked about this, but for the last 4 years, I can't believe it's been 4 years, but you've been at Banff Center for Arts and Creativity. And what sort of work do you do there? That's a good,
yeah. So I'm the director of Indigenous Arts, and I'm not sure how familiar everyone is, but it used to be a sessional position that's similar to yours. Like you come in and you do your programming usually during the summer, and so the Indigenous Arts, which has been part of Banff Center since like 1989, mostly in like 1990s, and it was founded in dance and then grew into theater and literary arts, but it was always done in that short amount of time. But when Banff Center hosted the Truth and Reconciliation Summit, they were really deeply impacted by the knowledge that was shared with that, and then decided to create the position to be a year-round, all arts disciplined position. And when they decided to do that, they hired me. So I do all art disciplines, programming and residencies in all different capacity. But it's pretty amazing. You know, I'm a performing artist and I love the performing arts. So it's been amazing to kind of learn and deepen the other art disciplines as well.
Yes. And I don't know if we'll get into some of the heavier questions, but is there, when it comes to Indigenous arts, what is the definition of Indigenous arts? Does that mean, is it art that's only for Indigenous people, or is it, is that right or wrong?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
For myself, Indigenous arts is things that are Indigenous led or Indigenous driven. So because we're able to work within the Indigenous perspective, all the faculty are Indigenous, the programming is Indigenous. So we build the programming from the ground up with that Indigenous led perspective to it for Indigenous artists. But we have, our faculty have requested that we do programs that could be for all participants. So we've run a dance program that was Indigenous led, but there were non-Indigenous participants that joined us. We did a visual arts program that was Indigenous led, but also again opened up recruitment to all participants. So I think it's important that we decide how we engage with our art and our.
More of my colleagues, more of my friends, more Canadians could also benefit, and everyone outside of Canada could benefit from that environment and from that wisdom. So a big thank you for that.
Masi Cho. Yeah, you're brave, Joel.
Thanks. I'm trying. And part of that is, I guess, what led to this project, which it's hard to describe exactly what it is, which is, I think, why that word complex, it kind of attaches itself so well to what this is. I think when you're dealing with reconciliation, when you're dealing with the horrific past of residential schools with Indigenous people, and with a complicated text, with complicated traditions on top of that, as well as not just our Indigenous artists, but we have sort of diverse people as well into the mix of all this. How do we approach something? How did we get into this? I guess in some degree is, I guess, like the music, which is Handel, is that type of music. Should it only be sung by, and I know the answer to this, but should it only be sung by certain people? That's kind of, I've heard kind of that question kind of come up is like, is it wrong for indigenous people to sing Handel's Messiah? Is that
Yes.
is that a weird question?
It's a little bit weird. I mean, I know that indigenous people weren't asking you that question, and I guess that's a wonderful way of asking. You're asking yourself, what is the responsibility that I have? Is that the responsibility that we should carry? Like, thinking of the people who are asking themselves that question, because they're not really asking me that question, because the answer would be they can sing whatever they want to sing. They're fully professional and experienced and incredible singers in their own right. And I kind of mentioned, I think, in the Toronto Star, where I said, this is not the first time that these singers have sang or encountered religious content in their professional lives, and likely their personal lives. And so how they engage with the music and the text is coming from a place of knowing, not a place of unknowing. And so my job, I felt, was to ensure that the knowing that they were engaging with really celebrated them and held true to who they were, and to bring that to light and to focus, rather than worrying or feeling conflicted about Handel's Messiah.
Because that's the thing. I think we're not saying that this is sort of, I don't think we're saying that this is an indigenous work per se. But if Leela or Diet or Jonathan loves the music or can sing this music and agrees to do this, then let's see what it could be without putting words in their mouths. But again, they've agreed to this project kind of thing. Maybe?
Yeah, exactly that. Like, Jonathan is kind of he's a beautiful being, or they're a beautiful being. And one is that Jonathan's really knows that era of music. Mm-hmm. He knows it far beyond Handel's Messiah. They majored in, like, they really are committed to knowing that time. And so this kind of actually was perfect for Jonathan, because they're indigenous and they really know this music. And so, yes, there's that wonderful photo. It's we took for we were in Sherwood Park, and that was in a farmer's field that we took that image.
And Jonathan, I was only going to say Jonathan is singing Refiner's Fire from Messiah, and approaching. I know you and Jonathan are very kind of tight as colleagues and as friends as well. So how is that process of kind of fleshing that out, in terms of, there were ideas that were in place, and it's a beautiful, almost a mini movie, what you have created with his story. And how does that come about when listening to this music and meshing these ideas with what the text is as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm more text-based, so this was a bit of a learning curve for me in the way of understanding how music is interpreted. I'm more theater-based, so I'm very adept at interpreting text, which I love doing. And so it's kind of a beautiful to be able to listen to the music and hear the dramatics of the music and look at the text as well. And I think when we look at Leela's and Diet's and even Diantha's, them taking the text, making it their own, translating it into their language, and then going back into it, but not losing the music. And that to me is like great skill. And to be able to do that, like, we had those great little meetings where we sat in, talked ideas. What does the text inspire? What does it make you think of? How are you feeling that? Is it about hope? Is it about transformation? And then coming it with that lens. So I don't think we deviated from the intention of the music or the intention of the words. What we did is we just reflected on it from our whole perspective of who they are as soloists.
And how did it feel being immersed in this beautiful music, dealing with the text and this, and obviously, like, we did all this kind of virtually through Zoom and through lots of emails and texting. how was it sort of coming back to at least hearing this music sort of to say, oh yeah, this is what the project is as well? Was that kind of a nice, refreshing change?
Oh,
Or
it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. You know, I think today I listened to watched Jonathan's again, and I watched Diet's again. And I watched Leela, I think a few times the other day, you know, just little editing things, but actually just I watched them all in a row. I watched some of them over again. And each time I just felt so compelled, inspired, grateful. And I'm very, very excited to see all of it together, because I feel like not only myself, but I feel like we're just going to feel that for every of the pieces, right? Like it's a piece that you listen to when people come together for a reason.
yeah,
Because it's really gorgeous music. Oh,
and
excuse me.
and I feel like it brings out the, I don't know, there's in Handel, there's something very human, I think, and I know these are old white guys, but Mozart's a bit the same way. There's something very human in the music that kind of gets to you, and here, yeah, like you said, hearing Diet, hearing Leela, hearing Jonathan, it's beautiful how they interpret it. And again, the backbone of this is, you know, I think early on we talked, like there was discussion, should we look at the composition of the music? But we have the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, who's kind of the backbone musically of this whole work, conducted by Johannes de Boos, where we had Zoom sessions with all of the singers as well, to set up how he would record this, because that was none of the singers were present when the orchestra recorded the music. I guess, like, this is also bringing to mind that this project was done during a pandemic where COVID restrictions abounded everywhere, and literally this music was being made all over the country as well, which is kind of like unfathomable in some degree, knowing what we were able to pull off. But thankfully, through technology, we were able to do it.
Yeah. Joel, this is an incredible project that you, honest to goodness, like, you are incredible. I have mad respect for you to and such generosity from everyone to to jump in, dive in, go for it, figure it out along the way. And, you know, that just shows again how important community is for all of us, right, in these different ways, and fearless, you know, fearless.
Well, I think, yeah, you being a director, me being a director, I don't know, sometimes I love to control the project, and that's kind of a thing to let go of in terms of, you know, how we work. And it's kind of letting things go in terms of not delegating, but trust is, I guess, the big one. And like you said, community. And a lot of this project, we had to trust that what was being discussed and what we were talking about would be, I guess, executed in all these, literally in every province and territory across Canada. So was that, how did that feel in terms of, was that difficult or scary or kind of weird? How'd you feel knowing, like, a shoot that you had discussed was being filmed and we weren't there, for example?
Yeah, I know. I was really grateful. You know, we met with all the filmmakers and all the singers in these ways, and I was really grateful to see the relation that they have, like Diantha and Justin, like they just clicked. He completely understood. Yes. Completely understood the vision, and Diantha and I really riffed on the beautiful feet, thinking about migration, thinking about caribou, you know, that Inuit culture that we share, and then with like Amos and Leela, have worked together before. He has shot her music videos before, and he's such an accomplished producer. And then, of course, with Diet and Alistair, I think Alistair has also worked with Diet on pieces that she's done with her band. And so it was actually kind of easy in some ways because they had those good relations. And then I was able to be on set for Jonathan's piece and for Julie's piece. And I was really grateful to be there for those ones. Yeah.
Yeah, there you are with Julie Lumsden, who's from Manitoba, but happened to be in Edmonton and was able to drive down to shoot her video with you in Banff. Yeah, how was it nice to get out and sort of be on location? Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, you were there for the Toronto Symphony Orchestra when they performed. It just felt really good. It just felt so good. And it was a 12-hour shoot. We're starting first thing in the morning. It's cold out there. There's no bathroom. We're in a farmer's field, drinking really cold coffee, but I wouldn't trade it for any Zoom meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you think from experience, I had not done as much sort of this filmed project, but sort of over the last 9 months, I've seen the result of kind of, I guess, upping the quality of film and the possibilities that can be done. And my goodness, the reach is obviously another big one where this could be, for Against the Grain, one of our biggest projects. And it's during a pandemic where we're not presenting live to people. I think that's incredibly important that we continue to do that. But is there something in this medium that could help the arts going forward, or do you think it will be a part of going forward?
I honestly believe this is a hybrid world now. And I think we as artists have to figure out, we as like live audience artists and creators kind of have to think of a way to balance that. I don't think we'll ever give up live, because we need to be in a room together. We need to feel the energy of the audience, and we need to feel the energy of the spontaneity and the incredible ability of the artists on stage. Like we need that for each other. That is, we need the warmthness and the breath and the distractions and everything. And the filmic world or the digital world is really stunning. And you're right, we're growing and learning how to do it better. I mean, if I look at some of my early COVID work that I did on the impromptu, I think it's great, but it wasn't perfect. But I wasn't striving for perfection, to be honest. I think one of the actors that I was working with said, this is about connection, not perfection. And that's actually kind of the motto that I lived by after that. So I think we're going to be in a hybrid world because there is a sense of accessibility. I mean, I was saying, like, the Northern communities are going to be able to watch these pieces done by members of their community, and they wouldn't normally get to do that because there would be no Handel's Messiah, in those places. Like there was no Handel's Messiah in my community, and so I'm pretty grateful to that. The communities are going to be able to celebrate their artists.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
We are talking to Reneltta Arluk, co-director of Messiah Complex. We have the trailer for our film lined up. If you have any questions and you're watching online, please fire it in the comments. But we're going to play you the trailer for this film, which airs this Sunday. Have a look and we'll see what inspires us from this quick 1-minute trailer. Wow. What did we do?
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Is there anything that stands out when I've seen that many times. Is there something that stands out when you see it kind of back to back like that?
Just powerhouse. I just like Catherine, I think, is the other one who's singing from Alberta. And And I'm just like, oh God, just like, just power. And the choir, which is the community that is part of this as well. And yeah, just stunning.
Catherine, she is singing and one of the airs or arias that is typically sung by a man. So in some degrees, we're also kind of asking the question, are these specific songs reserved only for specific voice types to sing? And again, if someone can sing it and sing it well, why can't they sing it? That's a question that I don't know. And there's these unwritten rules that, I don't know, rules sometimes are there to be broken. And I do it with all amounts of respect, but I'm also willing to kind of say, let's just see what happens and go from there, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to be.
With some of these classic things, what have you've done something with Shakespeare as well? I guess a legendary classic. I wonder if for a couple minutes, could you explain a little bit about that project?
Sure. It's Pagan McBeth, which is a play that's been commissioned by Stratford Festival. And I like to think I'm in my last 2 drafts of that play, but I'm not sure. I've been working on it for about, I think, 3 years now. It was inspired by working with the Frog Lake First Nation in Treaty 6 territory, working with youth there. I was coming in to adapt Shakespeare over a 2-week residency, and it was supposed to be the Tempest, and they called me and said, well, we don't really identify with the Tempest. And I was like, oh, that's good. I'm glad, because I don't really want to identify with the Tempest either. And so they thought, we want to use the cannibal spirit, the Witiku, which I can say now because there's snow on the ground, and as Macbeth using greed. And I went, wow, that's a really powerful dynamic with like Macbeth comes with its own protocols. Witiku comes with its own protocols, and to bring them together, I was pretty terrified. But it actually was quite powerful in a very positive way. And from there, I was like, I wonder if we can do this on a professional scale, if it would have that same positive impact. And it has. And so what we did is we looked at Powagin setting it in the late 1800s in pre-colonization, but like Indian agent, pre-treaty signings in this Treaty 6 territory where, the Blackfoot and the Cree were fighting. They were aligned with Stoney Nakoda. Sir John A. Macdonald was coming from Ontario. And so it's just like Canada was actually in a very rot place with conflict. And I just thought, let's just put it there and see what happens. And so we just dug in. It's about, and there's a lot, it's got a Plains Cree cosmology focus to it, lots of Cree language, and all the characters have that perspective to it. But it's been an incredible journey. There's a lot of iterations. We've done a community version, the Stratford version's in development. We've done a little bit of the online version for Canada Performs, and it's just got that. And what I did is I ripped it apart, and I looked at the relations, and I looked at the time, and then I put it together. So to me, it looks like a mangled coyote is kind of, if you were to imagine my version, it's like a really powerful mangled a creature that doesn't totally look like it's from this world.
That sounds like perfect and amazing. I think what's kind of great about this is, like, again, taking things that are familiar, that we know and sort of have heard several times, but then kind of shaking it up and throwing it in a blender or giving it to someone and just tearing it apart. Was that sort of a freeing, or how did that feel? Was there this sort of preciousness around the original text, or just no, like you just do it?
Well, I've had great support from Anthony at Stratford. He said, I think Shakespeare's okay with you doing this to the text. And I was like, that's good to hear, because I'm going to do that to the text. But, I'm a poet and I'm a playwright. And so whenever we do these drafts, the request is to put more of myself into the work. And I love I love this play. Like, I love it. I know it very, very well now. And to even play with the text within that is really enjoyable. But what makes it really intriguing and compelling is that you feel like you know the story, but then when you get into the world that I've created, the world is different and you feel that difference. And that, I think, is where the excitement comes in, which is similar to Messiah Complex. Like, we know the world, but then we get into the world and it becomes something different yet familiar.
And hopefully by other artists, young and old, kind of seeing these works, that could inspire maybe one or two of them to possibly do something similar, to feel that, oh, this is being done, and maybe I can do something like that as well, possibly.
That's right. You have to see yourself in those spaces to be able to feel like you're invited into those spaces. And that's primarily the work that needs to happen. That's why it's important that, people in isolated communities are seen on a national forefront like this and being celebrated, so that when you come from a little community of 1,100 in the far north, that you can actually feel like that might be possible for you. And that's really, really important.
What do you think is the next, 5 years of, I don't want to just say indigenous arts, but indigenous art will look like in Canada, when we're starting to see boards being shuffled around and new leadership kind of being put in place? Is it easy to just say that will have an effect, or what do you think? What do you think those changes will bring to the industry or the sector in Canada?
Well, part of me, what I'm thinking right now is that you can make these changes, but the funding has to change too. And so I'm really curious about what is it to reevaluate funding models to better support multiple voices at the table.
Yeah.
What is it to look at an organization and realize that there needs to be more access points that are created, less barriers that are not sitting back on the laurels of, well, this is how it's always been done, so this is the way that we'll do it. Like, what is it to truly engage in community, in processes, and to what is it to take yourself out of the main conversation and really listen to the needs of the region that you're in. And that funding needs to balance, needs to guide that way too. And so I always kind of challenge, whenever I have the opportunity, I usually challenge the funding model, because that's where then you're changing in all different aspects, and not just, inviting indigenous and BIPOC voices and bodies into that work. It has to change everywhere.
It does. And hopefully it will. And hopefully with enough people speaking up and encouraging enough people, that change. And that's been a huge discussion I've had with lots of people over the last few weeks, in terms of, does it come top down or bottom up? And I think the bottom has to kind of be lighting the fire, but we have to be willing to listen to what's going on up top as well. So hopefully
Correct.
That's coming.
Yeah, it's definitely this model. It's this model.
I'm talking to Reneltta Arluk. She is the co-director of Messiah Complex. This is a film that takes not all of Handel's music, but we're approximately 70-ish minutes. We are spotlighting specific artists. There's 12 soloists, 4 choirs, 6 languages represented in every province and territory in Canada, across our great land. You get to see almost every outdoor setting. Our country is huge. Yeah. We have Nunavut, where this is Louis Ariak. To be able to see parts of Canada that we have never possibly visited, to hear this music done in different languages is rarely done, for whatever reason. Again, I'm not someone who was brought up listening to Messiah every year, but grew up in the Salvation Army, which was a religious Christian organization where I played the Hallelujah chorus in a brass band before I ever heard it in an orchestra. So we have unique traditions that way as well. But It's going to be a pretty exciting thing considering the amount of reach that we've had we haven't really shown much of the film. And so are you nervous, excited? You probably haven't seen I haven't seen we're getting close, all the clips all together. Are you excited to see it all together?
I am. I'm very, very excited. Mostly I can't wait to share it with the family and my friends. Like I feel like I have a little secret, and because I've got to see most of the pieces. Most of them we haven't seen Louis, but like but I've got to see enough of the pieces where I feel like this is something very special, and I'm really, really excited for people to see it, because it is such a heart piece. And each of the clips and each of the soloists and the orchestra, like, you see the heart and spirit in the work that they're doing, and that actually really does translate outside of the digital world. Like, you watch it and you feel it, and so I'm pretty thrilled about it.
Reneltta, I'm so thankful that you agreed to participate in this project from both a wisdom knowledge standpoint, but then also as a director on this. And it's been amazing. I've been looking forward to working with you for so long, and it took a pandemic to kind of have that happen where we're physically not even in the same room, but we've been virtually connected. And it's been a joy kind of working with you, and again, learning from you. And I know that will continue as going forward as we kind of keep figuring out this world and what the future could look like as well.
Oh, well, the feeling is absolutely mutual. If you have a great team too, like Robin's excellent, Stephen's excellent. Like, I've really enjoyed working with you and your company. It's fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, a huge shout out to Robin Whiffen, our executive director, who's kind of kept this all kind of going. And a good thing, I guess, to make note, you talked about the financial model, is everyone was paid on this project. And in spite of that, we wanted to make sure that this was a gift that could reach as far as possible. So registration is all that's required to see this film. There's a live watch party this Sunday, December 13th, at the various time zones that you may be in to see this. And I think, kind of like you just said, to be able to connect together would feel virtually pretty unique, knowing that we're all kind of experiencing this at the same time. And huge props to Coffee Shop Creative and Stephen Bell, who has been pulling mad hours to edit this all together. It's pretty phenomenal how intense the team is, but we're really looking forward to what this is. Reneltta, thank you so much for doing this. Visit atgtheater.com for anyone who wants to register for free. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on to kind of share a bit more of your wisdom and how we were able to pull this project off.
The first thing that we'll do when we see each other in person is have some like rum and eggnog.
Yes.
And cheers each other.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, good. Looking forward to doing that. But yeah, I'll see you Sunday night. But thanks again for doing this.
Anytime. Anytime. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who came out to listen. Really appreciate it.
There you have it. Please make sure to go to atgtheater.com to register for free. It will run up until January 7th. So if you can't catch it this Sunday night, don't worry. It will be available on demand. Please share it. It's a wonderful way to see Canada, to experience some incredible music performed by the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Johannes de Boos, featuring, again, 12 soloists, coast to coast, from the north and the south, and 4 choirs. It's something you've never seen or heard before. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.